yes, that beautiful Harley Davidson motorcycle is going to come out of it, or that beautiful Cadillac, or whatever you fancy. That's my own analogy. I heard another analogy where this guy said, well, not believing in God is like saying, hey, telling somebody, hey, I was at home one day and I had this workbench full of junk, just little parts and this and that, and the next thing, tools and everything else, and it all crashed to the ground, leg broke, crashed to the ground, and out of it, he showed him a fine Swiss watch, and he said, this is what became of it. He said, I was astounded, I couldn't believe it. But I mean, would you believe that story? So that is what an atheist, somebody that's an avowed non-believer, is trying to suggest. They're trying to say it's unscientific to believe in God. And I'm saying the contrary, that God's the master everything. The master scientist, the master designer, the master architect and engineer, the master everything. End of story. But you see what I mean? You could find your own analogy, because we were given this power of thought, this awesome power of imagination that so far exceeds any of the animals out there. I mean, we think of dogs are pretty smart. They're trainable and they learn a lot of stuff. We had a family dog, and Sheba, she was a little Australian cattle dog, if you know the breed, little salt and pepper, greatly loyal. They're the kind of dog that you leave the gate open to your yard and the animal runs back into your yard. She was a great girl, but he taught her how to roll over for a cookie, a biscuit, a dog treat. And it was just incredible. I mean, she's just so smart, so quick to do it. But you see these dogs on these pet shows like the Pet Collective and all that. They show it on that Fail Factory, Fail Army, all that crap. TBD, Jukin Media, all that crap, all the gaffes and whatnot. But they show these dogs, one dog after another, trying to bring an oversized stick through a narrow gate, opening a door or something. And the dog just cannot figure out that he's got to turn the stick. So, I mean, we as humans just take that for granted. That's what I mean. Every day there's a billion things to be grateful for. A power of thought is one of them. Every day you don't get nothing done. You don't get nothing done without the fact that God gave you a brain. Nothing, 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 nothing. You can't get that oversized stick through the doorway. There's no animal that can come close. Not all the intelligence of all the animals combined, because we are created in the very image and likeness of God. Our imagination is virtually unlimited. Have you ever tapped the recesses? Have you ever explored the boundaries of your imagination? See what I mean? I mean, life is full of never-ending wonderment because of God, because God gave us this power. God is sharing. What are parents? Parents are sharing, right? So it all makes sense. God is generous. God owns everything. Everything, all the real estate in the universe. And it doesn't end with planet Earth. Just remember that. It's the only rightful owner of our very souls. Everything contained in the universe. It's awesome, and he wants to be glorified. Not that he's an egomaniac, but it's just acknowledging, like the artist says, yes, I did that. I'm glad you like it. I liked it. It seemed to flow from me, and I thought it was beautiful when I was doing it. Something I really wanted to do, and that's it. You read the Bible in the beginning, and why did God do it all? For the same reasons you do the stuff you love to do, that you really want to do. You love to do. It might be spontaneous. That's the most fun thing in the world. Wow, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do the next thing. It's like, wow, this is fun. I really like this. I'm living on the edge, man. This is cool. So God did one thing after another, it says in Scripture. And then after he said it was good, that he enjoyed it. And he saw the product of the fruits of his labor. And he saw it was good. He did it because he wanted to. It's God's expressing himself. And we're part of that. That's why we exist. He wants us to exist. It was by his will that we exist. And when we see where civilization is in this 21st century, you got to imagine, not God is not only heartbroken, but we're really, really testing him, really pushing the envelope as a species. And I'm scared, and that I want everybody to have that kind of fear. That's the fear of the Lord, reverence. Not that, oh, I'm scared of you, God. No, it's a deep and profound respect, that reverence, and say, God, you own me. You're the only one that can save me from this madness that is so rife, replete throughout this world system. The monetary-based madness and the control freaks and how they love that money so much that they have foregone their conscience and say they have this huge advantage over the righteous. You'd think if you were God, would you allow that to go on? What would your parents do? What would the cops do? What would anybody do? What would a teacher do? The principal at the school? What would anybody in a position of authority do? What would a judge do? You know, people are up in arms about the Supreme Court and all this leaked rumor. You know, what a troublemaker would do something like that in the first place. I hope they catch them and they prosecute them for leaking stuff that they bandy talk about. I mean, nobody knows that this is actually happening, but it's like all these pro-abortionists are out there freaking out. It's like a lot of these women, they're way beyond childbirth, so it's like, but they're protecting the rights. And I understand the whole, you know, back alley abortion with the coat hangers, and that sounds atrocious. I mean, God knows, how would you like to stumble upon a scene like that? So, you know, I got 2 daughters, and I kind of think more and more that it's a woman's issue. I really do. But then again, it brings into question man's role and all. Did man have any say-so? Guys, I tell you, if that's important to you, then you'd make damn sure that the woman you hook up with, baby, I'm not doing it. We're not doing it. You understand? I don't care how enticing you are. And I know you are. You're magically seductive. I know the female creature, like most men do. And it's powerfully intoxicating. And you got to say, no, no. I'm the guy that's going to put his foot down unless you agree to marry me. And unless, if God blesses us with a pregnancy, then you are going to have that child, right? Unless there's some life-threatening thing, which you got to leave between her and her doctor. So I'm not jumping up and down happy about this Roe versus Wade overturning, none of that crap. It's just that you got to imagine if you're God and you see that you put this baby in the most harbor-protected place you could think of, and this is happening. It's got to break his heart. So to do it willy-nilly and just haphazardly as a form of birth control has got to be sickening for God, that we don't want to make him pissed off. We don't want to do this. We don't want to agonize him and make him miserable and sorrowful and sad, right? So let's be very circumspect about this, sober-minded about this abortion thing. I mean, any doctor, God almighty, I mean, I couldn't even be a doctor, but to think of doing that, I think, God, jeez. But the other thing is, if men don't have any rights, any say-so legally as to whether a child is born, if he impregnates a woman, then why is the law so draconian, hard-nosed about men paying child support? The state decides that's the law and that's what we're going to have, then you pay. You pay the child support. If the guy wants to be gallant and chivalrous and do the right thing, then he'll pay. But he doesn't need the court telling him what to pay and how to do it. Right? I was a single dad. I couldn't even find my way to sue the mom. I just couldn't. I could think of it in a way of, sticking it to her a little bit, but I couldn't and I didn't. And she probably appreciates that. I don't know if she does or not. You never know, how things are going to turn out differently if this or that were tweaked. But, hindsight and, 20/20 vision, I mean, backseat quarterbacking and all that crap, But, when you get into matters of money between couples, I just think this is why I keep saying over and over, each and every form of money must eventually go. We could do that gradually if we had any semblance of true capitalism. That would happen naturally, organically, gradually, and the evil men know that. They know that. So nobody could call what we have today capitalism. It's fascist. Okay, it is crony capitalism, but all it's done is increase the wealth imbalance, and capitalism would not do that. If your money kept going up in worth like it's supposed to under supply and demand laws, okay, then you see the end from the beginning. Everybody's got plenty. Everybody turns out they're rich. Their money's worth so much, they don't even need a lot. So it's not about many numbers like they convince you now. Got to keep getting your numbers up. No, it'd be about having a few numbers that just keep increasing in worth. And what would God do? It's God's planet. We're God's equally beloved children. You know, if you were God, you had 8 billion children, what would you say? Share? Get along with each other? You don't need money because you're all born unthinkably wealthy. The planet is yours. All the resources therein, they're all yours. Share them. You understand? It makes moot any discussion of money. It settles all those arguments. That's why I say, man, you got to see through the major BS, the thick darkness that is the way of this world. What we're taught from everybody that, you know, you want common sense, you got to seek money and lots of it. Get it, put your nose to the grindstone, get a good education, get a niche, get a good job, get a career, make tons of dough. End of story. Leave it to your kids, get life insurance. All you care about is money, money, money. And it's sick. It's sick. It far too easily corrupts the hearts and minds of men. You say, well, I can handle it. I just think of it as a tool. Good for you. You live in a world where a slew of people cannot, and they murder for it. They start wars for it, where innocent men, women, and children are maimed and killed for profit. You understand? So, we're in a lot of trouble, and we need God more and more and more. And the good news is we're getting closer and closer to that eventual day when God's will is imposed. And it's going to be traumatic. Some people, I hate the idea of a world without any form of money. No way to get an advantage over the minions, the multitude of plebs out there. You know, they want that. They want to be somebody, and that's measured in how much money I make. Success. That's how it's defined. Money. It's everything to do with money. And it's a competitor for God's affection and attention. And only He's worthy of that. That's what He wants from us. Only what makes sense. What a little kid can understand. What's logical. Yeah, so the reason they won't allow any true form of capitalism, which intricately involves supply and demand, it's an integral part of true capitalism. So you see, since we find easy and easier methods to produce all the stuff we want and need, then you put two and two together, then you end up with this excess of everything because we're very productive, okay, well into the industrial age, right? And God gave us the brain, the wherewithal to do this. Plenty, a huge superfluity of everything, an abundance, an excess. So you understand why eventually we'd all be prosperous. But that is like this, because the slaver class, those controlling the purse strings, do not want that. That is their worst nightmare. The worst nightmare is everybody waking up at once and demanding justice. Even if not for yourself, do it for somebody else. That poor, desperate, homeless person living out on the street. You say, hey, Jesus Christ said, that's me. For all intents and purposes, that's me. You want to do something for me? You do it for them. And then we call ourselves a Christian nation. And we're spending $100,000 a year or thereabouts to keep one prisoner in jail for 1 year here in California. 3 hots and a cot we pay for. We pay for their energy needs, utilities. We pay their rent. We pay their medical and dental. Then we pay for help reintegrating into society later. How do you feel about that? And they don't have to work. They don't have to lift a finger. And you as a taxpayer, willing to pay $100,000 a year. But when it comes to the homeless, it's like, you smell, you look bad, go away. We got a big event in our city. We got to hide you away for a while. Say the politicians, those in power, sick. And all this could have been so easily prevented if a guy like JFK or Martin Luther King Jr. had gotten their way. America would look dramatically and profoundly